Sean walks over to the counter to pick up an order that just came in. Sean and I work at a family restaurant, and it's quite slow, so it's just us two working. So as we cook the order, we get to talking, and he works 2 jobs, including this one. His other job is over at Walmart. And I've got kind of a surface level interest in investments, or at least what I think investments are. And I recently read an article about some wealthy, kind of normal Walmart employees. It talked about Walmart employees getting stock options as part of their benefit package. Sean confirms this. Now, I'm fascinated by this because I love hearing stories about regular people who become wealthy because of some investments. I always think about, man, how can I get in on this? How can I get a benefit where I get to have stock options that will go through the roof? Similarly, I read stories about people who got in early, say in Microsoft, and their Microsoft stock went through the roof. All this stuff makes me very excited and a little envious as well. This is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little bit of excitement, like I know this is possible, but a little bit of envy, like why you and not me? But I know this is what I want to do. I want to get in on these stock options. I want to get in on a company early. That's all I got to do. Now, 5 years later, I'm working at a bank, and my friend and coworker Peter has a magazine, one of these personal finance magazines, and on it lists the top 10 mutual funds of last year. So I flip through this when we're on our downtime, and I'm looking at some of these fund returns. And some of these have more than doubled over a year. And I think to myself, it's the same excitement / envy that I felt before. Part of me is like, why am I not in on this? And part of me is like, I want to do this. This is what I really want to do. Okay. That's kind of what investing feels like. It feels like you need to win. Like you need to get a big investing win, something that pops. That's what investing is. At least that's what I thought, and I think that's what a lot of people think, especially newcomers and veterans as well, who have not taken the time to really understand what investing fully is, who are susceptible to what we're told. So, it's 2 decades later, and I'm looking back on those 2 past versions of myself, and I can see the error in my ways. I can see how I was drawn by the temptation to try to find winners, by the temptation to be able to wheel and deal, right? By the temptation to rely on media to do my research for me. Now, that's not what investing is. And that's part of the reason why investing is so hard. Find out more right after this. Hey, it's Derek Hagan. I'm a financial therapist. I'm here with another Money Health presentation where I want to talk about why investing is so hard. Okay, so first thing is we have to make a distinction between simple and easy. Simple things are just simple complex concepts. The opposite of simple is complex. Okay, so there can be some complex things, but investing done right is quite simple. Any complexity comes from noise meant to distract you. Easy things, on the other hand, that flows naturally. The opposite of easy is difficult. Okay, so investing is simple and difficult, and it's difficult for a lot of different reasons. Now, the first is because something called market timing. Now, market timing just simply says buy something before it goes up, and then sell something before it goes down, and then buy it before it goes up and sell it before it goes down, over and over and over and over and over again. Doesn't that sound nice? That's what I was attracted to. This is what the dream is, to be able to do that. That's wheeling and dealing. That's making a big move. That's being a trader. But that's a myth. It's a myth because The future is unknowable. You don't know when the market's too high. Take this first spot. You bought here and look at it climb. That's up quite a ways. Is that the appropriate time to sell? Well, good thing you didn't, because it kept going up, kept going up. Is this the appropriate time to sell? Good thing you didn't, because it kept going up, going up. Well, what if it keeps going up? How do you know this is the appropriate time to sell? Right? Or maybe you're up here and you perfectly did it. You said, this is it. It's too high. It's the highest it's ever been. I got to sell. And then it went down. Okay, well, when do you get back in? Do you get back in here? Do you get back in here? Do you get back in here? What if it's down here? Do you know it's going to go up? Or do you wait for it to get down here? Whoops, it went up. Market timing is impossible. Salespeople in the investment world know this, and that's why they don't even use the term market timing anymore. They call it tactical asset allocation, which is just jargony sales talk for market timing. We'll move your investments around for you into the areas that will go up. Right? It's like dipping your toe in on market timing, and it is literally impossible. Now, if that's not enough, right, being conditioned from a young age to think that investing is all about getting the money in before something goes up big time, okay, that's hard enough. But to layer on top of that, our brains are not really wired for investing. Our ancestors gave us survival skills. And survival skills have no overlap with investing skills. They're totally different things. Think about this. Go back 30, 40, 50 generations ago. Your 50 great-grandparents. Those people were focused on survival. In fact, the people that had good investing or personal finance skills, the people that saved stuff for some other day, the people that hoarded things, the people that didn't follow the tribe, they didn't follow the herd, the people that didn't do something when there was danger, those people didn't survive to become your ancestors. So doing something when you're afraid, doing what other people are doing, those are the types of things that we've inherited. And this makes sense. Here's why, right? If you see, you can't be right all the time. So if you see a stick, but you think it's a snake and you run away, the worst that's going to happen to you is you get embarrassed. But you survive to tomorrow to be embarrassed again. But if you see a snake and you think it's a stick, you could be in big trouble. You had to pay more attention to the negative. We no longer live in these survival times, but those instincts are still with us. And there's a lot of different biases, behavioral and cognitive biases that go along with this. There's a whole field called behavioral finance and behavioral economics that tackles all the different cognitive mistakes that we make. Everybody. It's just a mistake. I shouldn't even use mistake. The way that we misinterpret things by the design, by the way that our brain works. Right? So some common ones. Confirmation bias. This is when you go out looking for evidence that supports what you already think. But you never go looking for evidence that supports the opposite view. And that had some authorship. That had some intent behind it. But it's even worse. I'm more likely to spot evidence that confirms my belief, and I'm not even going to see evidence that disconfirms my belief. I don't even see it. Total blind spot. And this is a lot deeper than looking for news that confirms our views of the economy or investing. This is, what happens when we filter our news feed. So we see all the information that we want to see, but we filter out all the stuff that makes us uncomfortable, things that we don't want to see. That's confirmation bias. This even goes all the way down to the level of how you choose your friends. You're more likely to be friends with people who confirm your beliefs. They think like you. It's fun to be around them, and you're not going to befriend people that have different views from you. And so you end up in this little echo chamber. So that's confirmation bias. Another one, negativity bias. That's the snake and the stick. Right? We've evolved to be far more attracted to negative information than positive information. Rick Hansen, author Rick Hansen, says that our minds are like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good experiences. That means not only, well, am I more likely to remember the bad stuff and not remember all the good stuff that's happening to me, but I won't even notice the good stuff. I take it for granted. And so the negative stuff is anything that's disrupting this life that I'm taking for granted. And even worse, I might even see negatives in the good stuff that are happening to me. So we've got this negativity bias that everything is bad. Confirmation bias says, once I have an opinion, I'm going to go find information that supports my opinion. There's hindsight bias. Hindsight bias makes the future look predictable because we think we can predict the past, or at least we think that the past was predictable. But it's only with hindsight that we know why. It's only when we look back, say, at that plane crash, that we can say, oh, that's why the plane crashed. And then it looks obvious. Of course that's why it crashed. But remember, it's only because we got to go through the wreckage and research what happens. Only because we performed an autopsy that we got to see what happened. It's only because new news came out that explained why something happened in the past. It makes sense. This is why experts, you'll see this in 2008 or the dot-com bust, experts will always say, here's all the reasons the market crashed. But hindsight bias is the reason they didn't tell you that before it crashed. It makes the future look more predictable than it is. It makes you think that market timing is possible. And the last one we'll talk about is the illusion of control. The illusion of control is that feeling that we have some authorship over something that we have no control over. Like stock market returns, like what the economy does. Any sense of control that we have in those instances is merely an illusion. And now we've got a third layer of complications. The news industry, the media. Here's the list of all the things they care about, and you are outside of that circle. They don't care about you. You don't pay them. Advertisers pay them. They get paid with clicks. They get paid with eyeballs and attention. So their business model is not to sell their articles to you. They give that to you for free. And the more eyeballs they have on their stuff, the more these advertisers are going to say, hey, let's get my name in front of all those people. And their advertisers want you to do something. They want you to freak out. They want you to sell what you already have and buy something new. They want you to make a change. They want you to buy something from them. And the way that they can do that is to manipulate you into thinking that all those biases we talked about, they're shoving those down your throat. They have teams of psychologists creating those ads. And the news media chooses to get paid from those people instead of get paid from you. So it looks free, but what you have is a situation where they don't have your best interest at heart. Now, this is why you see listicle articles, right? The 10 best things about this, the 7 things you need to do about that, or the 12 things to do before tomorrow. Those are clickbaity. More clicks, more money. They're always looking for ways to bring more eyeballs onto their stuff. And if it bleeds, it leads. Bad news sells, good news doesn't sell. You're never going to see the article that says investor gets rich by buying and holding for 30 years like Rip Van Winkle. Right? So they do not have your best interest in heart. So you do not make financial decisions based on the news. So all of this adds up and piles up. And what it means is that we do the opposite of what we're supposed to do. Instead of buying low and selling high, we buy high and we sell low. Okay? Because we see something going up, something we're not familiar with, but we see all of our friends doing it. And we're like, what's going on? You get serious FOMO, fear of missing out. You're like, what? I got to get out on this. So you jump in. I'm not missing this boat. And then, whoops, starts going down. And you say, what am I doing? I made a huge mistake. I need to get out of this. I didn't know what I was doing. I need to sell. And then you see it go back up, and you're like, go on. So that's the cycle, the pattern that we find ourselves in. Now, the antidote is to try to invest your money for the long run And by doing that, you get to buy low and sell high without making predictions. Dollar cost averaging says pick whatever you can afford and invest that every single month. That way, when the market is up, you're not buying as much because the same dollars buy fewer investments. And that's good because if it goes down, then you didn't buy too much. And similarly, when it's down, you're buying more shares. You're buying those things when they're on sale. You're buying stocks when they're on sale. So dollar cost averaging is a way that you can buy low and sell high without predicting anything. It's a systematized way to invest. If you want to go further, you can develop for yourself an asset allocation, which is simply just means you're taking all of your investments and you're splitting it into percentages that are in different types of investments. So you might have 60% of your money in stocks and 40% of your money in bonds, or 30% in bonds and 10% in cash, which is savings accounts. So what that means is over time, as those perform differently, that pie changes a little bit. So if stocks are going up and bonds don't go up as much, new money keeps going into bonds. So you're not buying the stuff that's going way up, you're buying the stuff that's going way down. And if you're the flip side, if you're, say, retired and you're withdrawing money, you'll take money from the areas of your, they call it portfolio, but the area of your investments that have been doing the best. You withdraw those, selling high. Now, take a step back. That sounds very, very easy and simple, but that's hard to do. What I just had you do was put your money into investments that have been doing crappy. And your gut instinct is telling you to sell it. And I'm telling you to buy more of it. Similarly, if you're taking money out, I'm telling you to take money out of your winners, those rising stars, the ones that you want to double down on. I'm telling you to get rid of it. Take that money out, sell it, and get rid of it. So it's harder than it sounds. But if you can make that a system, then you get to buy low and sell high without having to predict the market. So put space in between stimulus and response. Don't act too quickly. Understand what your money's for. Understand your financial purpose. Then you get to understand what investments are doing for you. Why are you investing? What's the purpose of it? Breaks the spell. Money is not a goal. Money is simply a tool. Right? Money is a tool that you can use to help live your best life. And investments are one of the ways you can do that. And it doesn't need to be difficult. It can be both simple and easy if you do it right, but it takes a lot of practice. You only have one life. Live intentionally.